2021. Mr. Kesh, are you ready to continue?
Yes, good afternoon. Good day to you. And yes, we are ready to go.
We'll have to allow the attendees
What
to
I
raise
would like
their
to show
hands.
you, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. What I would like to show you, if we can go on camera, please. This is the system, what we call the Visual Enhancement Unit. This is where we are trying to enhance the fields between the vision sight and what we call the soul of the man in the center. In understanding this, this is not what you say it might change other things in your physical dimension, but is in a way to create a both enhance in both dimensions of physicality and what we call the soul of the man, or in what we call the hormone levels of the dimension of the soul, and in a way to see how it interacts with the body of the man in that dimension. We will make a very limited number of these, and we hope it most probably goes on the Keshe Foundation website stores, that those of you who in a way purchase or join the test series, you use them and you let us know what changes you see. We are not looking in a visual change, we are looking in the dimension of the every aspect, emotion, in aspects of understanding, in aspects of visualizing more things. And don't expect in the first time, first day. It needs the process and progress that it allows gradually to build up. We recommend you use it maybe an hour, 2 hours a day to start with in sessions of half an hour, then gradually build it up to use it overnight, over 3, 4 weeks. And then continuously send us the information through testimonial of the Keshe Foundation. This is a collective research by all of us. And in that process, we will come to understand more about the totality of the physical life and the dimension of the life in the process of existence. In so many ways, I start showing these products because it's now we're entering a dimension which we cannot leave it to one or the other. This process, we enhance the soul. We enhance the amino acid of the soul, not the soul, as the soul itself is complete, that it can interact with what we call different dimensions of the physical life of the man. In so many ways, mankind enters a new dimension. Mankind enters a new understanding, and in so many ways, mankind becomes aware of its totality. In the process of the creation, the created is us who has to understand the creation. And we need to enter the new dimension. Those of you who are interested to be part of this process, go to Keshe Foundation store, we go the same way, but you receive a communication that you accept that you are entering a test phase by yourself for yourself, and you have no claim on anything, except that we share knowledge as it comes. As I said, share us through what we call testimonials. Go to the Golden Age of Gans, share the knowledge there, what you see, no effect, the emotion, or whatever else. And then we go through the next process. This shows a new development in the process of understanding. We are not healing anything, we are not claiming anything, but we are totally learning totality, what it is and what can be, and how the next stage development in what we call the transmutation enhancement units will come to operation. What I advise you is if you can, for example, if you produce your own gas waters, use the gas water of CO2 with this amino acid to wash your eyes or your face or the back of your head, that as you understood with the hormones that we connect through the carbon link of our process, that it's the same when it comes to the dimension of the amino acid of the soul of the man and the physicality. These are the process of education, of learning, and we are learning collectively together. In other processes, as you've seen, we brought new systems out to show the absorption of the radiation in the fields around us. This is, again, it's important in the future that in the present time, as knowledge seekers, you use these, which is now promoted by Keshe Foundation, what we call the butterflies, to stop the process of the, what we call field interaction to your mobile phones or in the house, where you place these on your, what we call mobile phones or on your laptops, and restricts the field absorption. These, there is a reason for it we released it this way. It's not that to be used only for that purpose, but when you put this in the process of what we call interaction of these systems, then we can create dimension packages, specific dimension packages, which then we can transport and transmute in so many things. Now we dictate the hormone, the size of the energy, what we call a hormone, and then we take it to its next step. This is part of the understanding of the totality. In so many ways, this week, if you go on the website, we have now launched what we call the GANS Enhancement Plasma Care, which means it's for plants, and the same for pesticides. These we launched especially to, again, for controlling the environment that the soul of the animal does not find balance to be with the plants. With the present pesticides and herbicides, we destroy, we kill, we disintegrate the structure of the physicality. With the new, what we call pest removing or control, we remove, we don't kill, we allow them to move to a new dimension. This is important, again, as part of the enhancement of the control of the amino acid and what we call the soul of the creation and the creator. We don't kill, the time of killing is over. With one, we enhance the life of the vertical, and with the other, we control the environment of the horizontal, which relies its life by the fields of the vertical. And through it exists in a horizontal level, but horizontal creates a life that the what we call exists within the dimension of the horizontal. This is a true example of understanding both. With this, we enhance the plant to grow. And the way we do it, we cover the both ends. You water the plant. If I can show you, you water the plant at the base, and you add some gases on the top leaves, where now you create the atmosphere where the soul of the plant receives the energy and instruction of, I'm safe, I can grow to what I like, because the environment fits me perfect. I change and I receive what I need from the environment. These are the new understanding and the process and the technologies which is, you will see to come out of the Keshe Foundation. Do not look at them at the ganses. Try to understand the evolution in science which they bring. Collection of evolution of what we call the increase in one, in a way bringing control, understanding with the other to create a dimension of the package, and then allowing the life to decide itself what it needs to take from it. This is what we need to understand. This is what will come to be part of the creation and part of the creator. This is the part of the process which we will examine in detail in coming time. Now, it is up to us to extend the knowledge, and it's up to us to understand the technology in its totality. Then we explain the new enhancement pens which has been done, that how they collectively interact with the total condition of the fields, even hormones, that they interact to understand what is needed in total with all dimensions of the existence within the body of the man. Don't forget, even a cell had the hormone structure for its own interaction in its environment, or what we call the process of the sharing of the energy from its center to its different parts. Now, I hope the knowledge start making sense after years of teaching. We understand more why we teach in this level and in this manner. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. We've activated the hands up buttons for the attendees. So the attendees here in the Zoom chat can raise their hands if they wish to ask a question. I was looking at, we have a question in the Q&A from Salamia regarding, is the universe a hologram? She says, I am the universe. This is one of the proofs. Can you explain to us how the universe is a hologram if it is? Or is the universe a black hole?
What do you call a hologram? And what it is, what we call a black hole?
Okay, we've got her, Salamia has her hand up here, and perhaps she can address that directly. Go ahead, Salamia.
Hello, Mr. Kesh. Hello, everybody. At my knowledge, a hologram is a principle. It's a principle for me. The part represents the totality. So myself, I am the universe. I am part of the totality, but I am representing the universe. If you cut a picture with, for example, with a rose, you will not have pieces of roses. You will have on each piece a rose. Just to explain for other people to understand. And a black hole, the other question, a black hole, at my knowledge and understanding, it is a machinery, a mechanism of recycling the material and the matters of the universe. including plasmatic entities. Thank you. This is at short.
I don't understand what you're trying to ask.
Yes. My question is, does this universe a hologram according to you and plasma knowledge? Do you agree with my assumption or not? And the second question is related to black hole. Can be universe a black hole, considered a black hole, or the unicos? Thank you.
This is your understanding of a black hole and not ours. You can have a black hole at any level and strength. And in so many ways, we don't see life as a hologram. Life is not hollow, and it's not a diagram. It has a consistency of a plasma of life and physicality. Life is full of meaning, and there is no way in the universe that it's hollow. How do we see it? How do we extend it? How do we understand it? Is according to our intelligence, as we have said before. Any other?
Yes, we have Ed with a hand up here. You'd like to go ahead. And then Azar after that.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Kesh, sometimes I get lost in the terminology of science.
I think you're not the only one.
All these elements and things that we have learned about or the names of and stuff, they're representative of field forces. In each of these field forces, they have a certain effect or a certain effect, I guess it is, in whatever environment they're in. And it seems to me that that's what I need to learn, is how each of these forces represents itself or affects the environment or around it, or interacts with the environment around it. Instead of a calcium or an oxygen or a nitrogen. I know in the past you've referred to these as the, like hydrogen is the energy source, and one of the others is the communicator, and one is the balancer, and so forth and so on. And those kinds of ways of expressing, they appeal to me because I can understand it on an internal feeling, emotional level, rather than names and numbers and so forth and so on. And I'm wondering if you could expand on that some, or is that the way the teaching is going to go more? Or am I correct in that
What
assumption?
you want to explain? What you don't understand?
I guess I'm always searching for the key to my understanding of the totality. And it seems to me it's not on a mental level. It has to come at a feeling level where I I understand it because I can do it. It communicates to me that where I go, aha, yes, I can do this.
I think I explained this once somewhere, and maybe it's time to reiterate on it again. And that is, when you are a man and you decide to become a marathon runner, you don't get up and run and do a full marathon the first time. You prepare yourself, then you start running a few 100 meters, and then a couple of kilometers, and then extension of strengthening different part of the body, and then understanding where are the weak points and strengthening the big points, and gradually you make a marathon man out of the man. To understand the process of interaction with the soul and the physicality of the man is the same, except a smallest common denominator that you think you can understand, you think could be a common point. Maybe you start in the wrong place to start with, but try. And then see how this takes shape. How does this become part of reality? How this gradually builds up. It won't happen in a week, it won't happen in a month, it won't happen in a year. It's taken man millions of years to reach this point of evolution. Try to understand where you make mistakes, where you didn't understand, where you thought you understood, but were slightly right or slightly off center. The process has to become part of the structure. The process has to become part of the understanding, and the process has to become part of the exception. In a way, we need to understand this process, that it'll become a common ground. Build on it. As I said to a knowledge seeker, whatever you see as the essence of why you are here, what happened, you say, no, I don't accept, I ignore. Whatever I put in front of you, you reject, because this way you can walk away with your own ignorance. Why am I here? What's the purpose of me here? Why have I been brought to this position? Why I made such a move and it's brought me to such a position to understand or take the next step. And what was the purpose of my life to be at this point? As long as you see it in a physical dimension, so do the cows walk from one end of the field to another and go back to the same point every day to eat grass. So there is no difference between a man and a cow. Maybe some of them are more spiritual than we are because they have nothing else to do but depth of the ground. In so many ways, analyze the totality of life. Look at with a true understanding of, without prejudice and totality, the reason I'm here, what brought me here, and be clear with yourself what brought you to be in this point in time. What is the purpose of me being here? Then try to understand what I did in physical life, which was right or to me wrong or to my advantage at that time. I thought that now out of nowhere, I sit here and I can see the reason for it, what I did before. Your physical life has no memory of bringing you here. It must be the operation of the balance of the souls that kept in the memory bank that you have to be here because of your conduct in that point that brought you here. I go to work to get the wage at the end of the month. At the end of the month, there is no wage package on it if I haven't done the work to be able to get the wage package. And the reason for you that you have done the work is that few digits in a virtual reality of the bank statement. Somebody has put something in there that you can repeat the same process again and again the following month and the following years. This is where is the first step in confirmation of there is more than me and the operation of my physical life of eating and what I call being in the pasture of life. And then if you see that, you start creating a connection. How did my physicality knew that I've done such a thing between me and myself, that it has brought me here as a benefit, as a punishment, as a whatever you want to call it, to be today. And it reminds you by memory, you remember what you did that time? The memory remembrance is a bank account payment. Memory remembrance in coming to you as a flash of knowledge in what you did before. Then this is the confirmation of your soul. And as long as you deny this, there is no progress. Because you do not want, you do not accept, you do not live the time of reality that, okay, I walked and I got here, I did what I did, 10 years later, I'm here. You're here as a consequence of what you did 10 years ago, that if you did right or wrong, has been brought you here to balance the books, or in the collection of, in a bigger dimension, is not only now your own conduct of your soul, you have the, what I call hormones of the soul, which is what in the process of the development of the soul, yours, in connection with the souls of the past, what your father and grandfather and the fourth father did, that created partially your life to be here, that is in a response to their reaction to that time. This is what we call the return of prophet, the prophecy. They try to tell us this, but we don't understand it. But really, in real life, we live this life. Because that is what the souls have decided, that it'll come to be the point of matter of physicality, or what we call prophecy. And in that process, mankind has to mature. Why are we prophesied to be in this point of time that we will see such a thing will happen? Because the other souls and physicalities have taken the steps in both the dimension of the soul and the dimension of physicality for you to manifest yourself at this point of time in that dimension. Because we don't see and we are physical people, in that certain point in our brain, the position of our soul, we are ignorant of everything else. And as I said once, we cracked this nut so many times, we opened it, but we see an empty space, we say there is nothing there, so it cannot be there, anything else. But in fact, it's the essence of the soul of man. And even in some structures, is within the structure of the brain of the man, which man cannot see, because it's so powerful that it's diminished in size and dimension. So, what you see as a purpose and how you need to develop is to take a reference point of your life and see how your conduct in such a time led you to such a point. Maybe the conduct was 30 years ago and what you saw was 10 years ago. In 20 years, why brought from that conduct to this reason, to this position? And sometimes when you do it with understanding this, it's instantaneous. You wish, and the wish, the strength, it goes in the dimension of the strength of the soul of the man, that the soul delivers the physicality through operation of the interaction with other souls. You feel the mother so much that the mother calls, because you pass the dimension of the interaction with what we call feel the strength of the man, but you work in the dimension of the soul, where the two souls talk. Mom, he needs you. Hi, darling, how are you? What's wrong? We have to understand the strength. We have to understand, and then this becomes a reference point that next step. What I saw after 10 years brought me here. What I did in respect, in reaction, that has brought me to today. What can I change today that I can change through strength of the soul, that I can get to where I want to be? My desire for thousands of years was to be with Mitra in the existence of its totality. And when you achieve it, you bless the time you have served in understanding to reach to that point. I have a very funny situation, as my own sister is called a Mitra too. So depends which Mitra you call. In essence, one has to understand the totality. In essence, one has to come to grasp the full meaning of the operation of the soul, find a reference point, and work from that reference point. And when you do not expect to see the result or rewards for what you do. Then you have entered the dimension of physicality. We see, we evolve, we create, we manifest, and we develop these conditions. We understand the totality. We comprehend the one. And then we go further. And then we understand more. Then we become to understand the totality of the existence. Then we ask ourselves, did it happen? And how would it affect me? How would it interact with my existence? How would it develop to be part of me? How would it extend the knowledge of me about my soul, my creation, and the totality of understanding of the Creator's work? Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Next in line is Azar. Then we have Wollaston and Gatwa.
Good morning. This is Azar. My question is, Mr. Kesh, you talk about the cocaine, and when people take it, it's not hallucination. And at the same time, another question I have, because when the cocaine, which is a ligand, attached to the receptor, which is in the body, it creates whatever it creates. I don't know the images or what they see. And then a lot of people say it is hallucination. And then where the addiction comes from this ligand, because does it mean the receptor stays open and they go for it, or that's another method?
Can you explain what you exactly mean? Or what you're trying to understand? Hello? Can you hear me, Azar?
Your microphone is closed, Azar. I'll ask you to unmute there.
Hi,
There you go.
I couldn't open my microphone. It wouldn't allow me. So what I'm trying to say, because we have plant medicine, because it is interesting. On a Tuesday, someone asked about plant medicine like psilocybin, ayahuasca, which is MEO-DMT, and we have iboga, and we have Ufo alvarius, which is pipe MEO-DMT.
Yeah, you see, let me just clarify one point. This is, again, goes back to understand that the plants are in a Ganser state too. That's why they have a direct effect on us. They're not minerals in a different strength of the plasma. When you interact or you take herbal medicine, or herbal tea, or anything which is from a what we call evolution of interaction of the amino acid, so you're already in the realm of the strength of the amino acid of the man anyway. So interaction is much more easier. And if the plants have managed to create a condition of gathering a strength in certain combination of the amino acids, then we are in that position.
Mr. Cash,
Then we have achieved, or the Gans of the plant has achieved, to be in the what I call the structure of the man.
Mr. Cash, so why is
it interacts easy.
Why is it cocaine create
It communicates.
dependency? Why is
It falls within the strength of the amino acid collection. So you do, if most important things to understand, where do these what we call herbs or these elements which affect us are created in respect to the soul of the plant? And if that's the case, how they collectively have created the condition to be in the leaf, that they can create what our brain does at its highest strength in the center of the brain, with what we call different kind of herbal materials. We achieve different strengths of excitation and harmonic level. And this is the point. This is the question.
Mr. Cash, why is it that
when you speak about all these names of plants, come to one point. How come a plant can create a combination of a high levels of carbon and hydrogen in connection with other things that can be matching near enough to the what we call harmonic acids or hormones of the body of the man? Is there a salt in the sections of the brain which allows these combinations to be created, like the way we produce CH3 in the gas boxes, or we produce CO2? Our knowledge has not reached as such yet that we can produce high combination of the carbons and hydrogen interaction plasmatic strength, as we call it. We have managed to achieve CH3, CH4. We haven't managed to achieve C10, H20. What does it need in the knowledge to reach that? What part of the knowledge we are missing? That knowledge seekers can produce hormones in the structure in a way as a plasmatic field that when we release it, we see combination of hormones. If you go to the book where we talk about the ganses and we show the pictures of them. When we did the Raman spectroscopy and infrared spectroscopy, the report says it sees elements which have not been discovered, but man theoretically thinks they would one day discover. Because the atmosphere of this planet does not allow accumulation of the fields in the plasmatic state in that level, because the plasma is open. The plasma of the Earth does not hold configurations which can go over so many protons and electrons. If we move to the center of the universe in a tighter pack, it might allow us to go to atomic mass of 400, 500, what we call new element. They call it exotic elements because it's not exotic. It's exotic as long as it's in the atmospheric condition, pressure, field, strength of this planet or this galaxy or this solar system. In another universe, due to the magnetic field strength pressure, it could be different. We could reach elements of mass, atomic mass of 1,000, 2,000 compared to it. Or if you add the atomic mass of any of the hormones, then it can give you a near indication if we understand the energetic value of the, what we call the hormone. When you talk about carbon-44, when you talk about hydrogen of 60, that is 44 by what? By 12. Then what about the neutrons and the energy of the protons? What about the, what we call the boundary energy which holds them together? When you add all these together, then you get the plasmatic energy fields of the hormone. Mankind knowledge has not reached that point yet. Nobody has ever sat down and thought about these things to do, but we don't have a choice. Now we have to do it. Then with it, we know this energy pack is what it does. Then we will develop energy packs which creates that reflection and interaction. It's just us as humans have not managed to reach that point. We produce hormones on the banners of D3 and all sorts. We create radiations on the banner of folic acid and vitamin B12 and the rest of it. But in reality, we haven't understood the plasmatic energy. We are mimicking in the matter state. We are not mimicking in the soul and the universal field strength of the energy of the plasma. It's a development of knowledge, and in time we'll see. We are developing systems that will do this. Next
Okay, maybe we can hear from Wollaston next.
Olá, Rick. Português do Rafael.
I think we need Rafael to translate.
There we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oi? Tá me ouvindo, Rafael?
Oi, Wallace, pode falar, tô te ouvindo.
Bom dia, Sukesh, bom dia, Rick, bom dia a todos. São duas perguntas que eu tenho. A pergunta é a seguinte: nós montamos essas unidades, usamos cobre, zinco, ferro, e, por exemplo, para produzir o CO2, usamos zinco, uma bobina de cobre nano revestido, um LED que atua como um diodo para evitar que a corrente retorne e, consequentemente, com a condição salina, é produzido o CO2. A minha pergunta é se nós temos se podemos dizer que temos um círculo elétrico ali.
So the question from Wallace was talking about that we build all these units with the plates that we have and the zinc and the copper and all this. So to produce the CO2, we use LED lights. So basically his question is, do we have electric current in that process to make that production?
What do you mean? Can you repeat?
Let me ask for him. Então, Alisson, você pode ser mais claro na sua pergunta? Você quer saber na sua pergunta se você cria uma corrente elétrica nesse circuito de produção de CO2, é isso?
Não, se o conjunto em si de um reator, com esses elementos, conexões e ação que é criada ali, se nós podemos dizer que temos um circuito, um dispositivo de eletrônica, assim vamos dizer.
So I think he's trying to understand if with the combination of all the elements that have in the reactor, the plates and the LED light and all this, if we create a circuit of like a device, electronic device, are we creating this with this reactor?
You can try everything and extend the knowledge.
Oi, Rafael.
Any other question? You got to understand that we are not here to give you something to copy. We are here to enlighten you to think and develop new structures, new understanding, new ways of interaction between the fields. We were happy up to now with a few Ganses and few whatever. Now we have entered a dimension that we want to know more. We want to create bigger dimension strength of the field. And how these fields interact with us, how these fields will come to be part of us and to create the special conditions for us that we can evolve in the knowledge and technology, nothing else. So you extend, as I said, to the knowledge. You try to understand more of the knowledge and how you can create this condition. Put it this way, as I said many times before, it cannot be that difficult that even a seed of poppy can create the poppy, can create the soul, can create that amino acid that can reach the strength in its growth and development and evolution, the strength of the hormone or nearly one of the hormones of the body of the man. And it does it in trillions cells in the fields in the universe. It's us that who has not understood the process that has become the Holy Grail in the world of knowledge. And this is why these teachings are bringing man to that point. The seed which falls of a flower in the deserts, in far corner of this planet, has all that to create an amino acid, a strength structure which is just near enough to the strength of the hormone of the man of vitamin whatever, or hormone of whatever strength. So it cannot be that difficult. We haven't understood the process. Now with the CO2, with the CH3, we have set the structure to do. But as I said, nobody is extending the knowledge. It's just copying it. The knowledge seekers have to extend now to be able to create these. How do you create this? How do you create a condition that a plant does in a desert, creates a hormone which is near the hormone of being like an addicted? And there is no way to achieve this if we don't understand, even for that soul in that plant to interact, we need to understand interaction of the plasma in a nuclear level. The strength of the nuclear plasma is the cornerstone of man entering the world of creation. Otherwise, you stay in nuclear physics, and the physics of the man is still 2 levels above what we call in strength lower than the understanding of the field flow in the universe. The interaction of the fields lead to the creation of the plasma, and the interaction of the plasma leads to creation of atom, what we call the physics. So we still need to go back to understand more. And now it's become a crime for those who go that level deeper. Because if you go to understand the plasma, and then interaction of the fields which share the plasma, then you come to understand the fields which created that plasma, then you lead you to the creator. And this is not good for you, for others, if you can reach it and they can't. So you're a big enemy. You're a big instrument of problems. And this is how things are done in the structure of the life on this planet. This is how things are developing in the structure of this planet. Knowledge being closer to understanding of totality, or being able to develop technologies which lead us to that point, is criminality to the eye of those who are criminals. Or they stop you from it because they don't understand it, so we stop you till we understand. There is something wrong with you because we don't understand. It's your problem, not our, what I call lack of understanding. And this is what mankind is facing. That's why they have created what we call peer review. A bunch of ignorance trying to say how level of ignorance we live by. Any other question?
Okay, next in line, we have Gatwa here.
Good day, Mr. Kesh.
Good afternoon, Dr. Gatwa. I know you've been trying to find a time we can talk. I do apologize.
Yes, I can't hear you very well. I don't know why, but I have 3 questions. But
Yep.
before I ask, I would like to thank you very much for the technology that you have brought to the world freely in exchange for peace. And this technology is surely unmatched. So we look forward to the peace that it's surely bound to bring. Now the questions. The first question, I'm trying to understand the duality of man's life, the dual life, one of the soul and one of the physicality. And I go back to the creation of a plasma, of a neutron, for example, where the neutron then subdivides into a proton and electron. And you have taught us that the electron is the physicality and the proton is the soul. So in the case of man, where the soul can extend beyond the limits of the physicality, and then he travels to the spans of the universe, can that be shown in the proton-electron relationship? Does the proton at some times extend beyond the limits of the electron? And what is the result? That's the first question.
Yeah,
second-
can you repeat? I don't understand. I haven't done nuclear physics, so I don't understand. I would understand it first.
It's me who hasn't done nuclear physics, so I'm asking as a layman.
Yep. Let's see.
And
a
then
layman if you can answer.
can I go to this all the questions and then because I don't
No,
I
let's answer one question at a time.
okay, thank you.
I think you befriended Jalal too much. You have 2 and then 4 questions. Carry on. Hello. I forgot what.
Yeah, your microphone is muted, Gaja.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute. So you want me to
Unmute.
continue with the second question, Mr. Kesh?
No, first question. Let's answer your first question.
Okay. I have already asked the first question. Do you want me to repeat
Yes,
again?
repeat it because I don't understand what you're asking.
Oh, I'm beginning with the dual life of man, where there is a life of the soul of man and the life of the physicality of man, yet they are within each other, they are together. So they
Yeah.
are interacting. And then I go back to the creation of
Dropped off again.
the neutron, for example, plasma of a neutron, which then subdivides into a proton and electron. Now, looking at the proton as the soul and the electron as the physicality of that particular atom, and looking at the life of man and life of the soul of man and life of physicality of man, is there a relationship? Can it be shown in a plasma, in a proton-electron relationship? Does the proton sometimes extend beyond the limits of an electron? And what is the result?
Always does.
So
It's like the sun expands beyond the strength of field of the sun, expands beyond the strength of the field of the Earth and Mars and the rest.
You mentioned
We see
before, Mr. Kesh,
part of the work in the bandwidth of the proton and electron. Because you have the protons and then you increase the numbers, you go to the next layer and the next layer of electrons. Because the proton themselves in the nucleus have arranged themselves in that position and that point. If we go to what we call classic nuclear physics, as we see, we have a proton, electron, and then we have the first band and the second band and the third band. They're all connected to one proton only, but how come so many electrons sit in one band? One is an individual and one is a collective interaction of the soul or the proton. And so is the soul of the man. And depends what the strength in which position the proton sits in respect to its environment, that the electron accepts that position. And opposite to the classic, because if you look at the classic nuclear physics, they just put bunch of electrons and protons in the nucleus and bunch of neutrons and protons in nucleus, and electron in the boundary, and that's it. Which electron is connected to which proton? What's the extent of the soul? And in a classic physics in nuclear, nobody has ever gone into the depth to understand the position of the proton in respect to the its new in respect to its electron. To what does it extend? Why if you look at the nuclear plasma physics, we see the strongest proton goes to the center, that it creates the furthest electron position. If it wasn't so, we will see many electrons. If the stronger proton was sitting in the outer boundary than the weaker electrons, and then they would have been responsible for the first electron, the last electron boundary, we would have seen a mayhem of collapse and collision of the electrons with each other. Doesn't happen that way. When you look at, you have to look at the structure in what we see, and then you can embed it in what we cannot see to understand the parallel. So the soul of the man, the dimension of the soul of the man in respect to its electron is, which is the physicality of the man, cannot be any different. And then ask yourself, why does, if you understand this, kidney is below the lung? And why in the body of the man, the lung is at the highest point? The same with the animals, because it's connected to the gaseous and is to a higher dimension, and the same with the soul, which sits right on top of. It's the soul of, it's a parallel, but we have to understand in relation to one to the other. Next question.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions in the Q&A here. Thomas had asked, what is the purpose of the visual enhancement unit?
If you listen to the part we spoke, I already fully explained. It is the development in the science that we can carry some of you into the next level of understanding of the science of that through your own interaction.
Okay, Doug has asked in the Q&A.
You see, let me explain something.
Sorry.
To run these things, now you go to research councils and you go and find people who can finance that you can do your research. This way, we brought the research to you as one nation, one planet, that you pay, you are the financiers, you are what I call angels of what we call in the financial world of sponsoring research and development. This is how we develop it, and we fund the new research, new understanding and building. This is how, as gradually Keshe Foundation transfers into these kind of things. Collectively, we add to the knowledge. Collectively, what you learn, you put into testimonial, and then become part of the new Keshe Foundation Wiki, which is getting more updated and evolving. And we build up as a collective knowledge that nobody has a claim on. It's not that I sit and I'll read the scientific report if somebody can raise money for it to be done, and then they influence the data. You pay to be part of the research yourself, and you are part of the testing of it. And you bring out the data, the information. This is how gradually we are amalgamating all aspects of the technology together and running up the Keshe Foundation together. Then we see how it affects, what conditions you see, how many of you find changes in what thingy. And collectively, when testimonials, you collect the knowledge, or it has this effect on most of people. You will start writing the what I call the outcome. we are gradually bringing you all to be part of the way we set up the Keshe Foundation TV. You are running it. You are producing the program. We guide you in what it needs to be done. And like the Romanians, they start creating interviews between the scientists. They have the platform. The Italians are doing the same. The Iranians have started doing the same. The Brazilians are doing the same. Gradually, all will learn. And then instead of just interviewing the scientists in Romania, now Romanians speak with the Brazilians and with the Spanish, and they create the next step, which is, come on, all of you, all the scientists start understanding the technology. And it's the same. This is part of One Nation program. That's the purpose of it. Slowly, we are giving it the freedom to become, to be part of bigger structure. Some of you participate in running of the television program. Some of you start running, you enjoy the research side, collecting the data, what goes on all the platforms, and you leave it openly on the platform that the others can see what positive changes, what negative changes, everything is there. You are writing the book of science, and the same as you're writing this way openly for everyone. Keshe Foundation is a facilitator. You are the researchers, you are the knowledge. And now gradually we are bringing this into your position to do. You made the gases, you reported. Now collectively, we go in a higher order that all understand, all can be done. And this is one of the purposes of the eye enhancement unit, the other enhancement units, is this, that we collectively gather knowledge, the know-how that doesn't belong, cannot be controlled by no one anymore, that then we can take it into ransom for any reason or whatever. I'm gradually teaching you how to become your own structure as one nation, collectively equal without prejudice and whatever. Next.
Okay, we've got a question from Ike here. Go ahead, Ike.
Hello.
Can you unmute, Ike? I've asked to unmute, but it doesn't seem to be happening. Okay, get another question in the Q&A from Doug McDonald, who says, can Mr. Keshe explain the endorphins in our body? Are they plasmatic or matter state?
Would you like to put it on the screen what it is?
You could do that, sure. Yes, I've got that set up here.
Is there anything than plasma in the body of the man?
Sorry, is there anything, what was it you just said? Is there anything, something in the
what
body?
he asked, if it's a plasma in the body of the man, I said, can you find what it is on your Wikipedia? You're a fast mover on that department. And then let's see what it is. Would you like to read it?
Okay, this is the part on endorphins in Wikipedia. Endorphins is contracted from endogenous morphine. They are indigenous, not indigenous, but endogenous opioid neuropeptides and peptide hormones in humans and other animals. They are produced and stored in the pituitary gland. The classification of molecules as endorphins is based on their pharmacological activity, as opposed to a specific chemical formulation. The endorphin class consists of alpha endorphin, beta endorphin, and gamma endorphin. All three preferentially bind to opioid receptors. The principal function of endorphins is to inhibit the communication of pain signals. Endorphins may also produce a feeling of euphoria, very similar to that produced by other opioids.
So this is a chemical plasmatic material, what we call chemical, but combination of the interaction of the plasmas in a very extensive way. If you look at, can you see the chemical combination of it? It's a nitrogen based. We don't see, can you find out it's an HO combination there, please?
Well, can you see the chemical?
It definitely connects to the nitrogen. So it's a plasmatic condition. Yes, can you find out how many hydrogen nitrogens are in it? That's what I'm interested in.
See if I don't know if they actually show the pictures of it.
Go a little bit high. There it is.
Oh, there it is. The chemical formula.
H131, N19, oxygen 27, and again the magic number S, sulfur. And when you see that connection to the sulfur, it gives you a full understanding that is effective. It will affect the what we call DNA, because that sulfur being sitting in that position with such a high level of interaction with any carbon level in the body of the man, with a diversion of the what we call diversity of the hydrogen, it shows you this material will 100% interact with the what we call DNA, because it's one strength of it, but is not all the same strength all the time of the same phosphor and other combination of the elements in it. And when you see 83, it means it can interact with 83 different what we call cells, strength in order of magnitude in the body of the man. So it can interact with more or less a lot of parts of the body of the man, because his electric connection through carbon is huge. It covers a big spectrum. And then when you see the hydrogen, then you see it's a highly active. And if you go back to that formula, there is a very magic thing sitting with that formula. Can you go back to it? It's the magic part of this formula is the difference between the carbon and hydrogen is on about 48. You have 48 electron extra sitting in there. Around about, if you look at the nitrogen and the oxygen, is around about 46. This, as a plasma physicist, gives me a lot of indication how this material can interact with a lot of things in the body of man. It shows this spectrum of the diseases, conditions, emotions that this material has control of or interact, and is 100% interaction with what we call the phosphor. If you can on the side bring up the chemical numbers of cocaine or alcohol, then I can show you something very interesting. If you can just keep this one on this, shrink it to one side, keep it on, and then if you bring especially this one, will have an effect on, we'll see how it interacts in common denominator with cocaine, with heroin, with alcohol. Then you see how we become alcoholic, how these hormones will affect us, and how some of us never become addicts. They can inject heroin into our blood, we can walk with as we don't see it. Stop that. If you look at that combination, and then you see how dependent we become to the drugs. In which combination, what is connected. You see the ratio between the carbon and the hydrogen is about 5 to 1. If you have permeability of the, what do you call it, connection in the strength of the carbon with the hydrogen, you stand a very good chance of becoming addict. But the problem with cocaine, if you look at it, is has the interaction field with all four. That's why it's so addictable. Carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. If you can bring, please, alcohol, chemical combination of alcohol when you become alcoholic, then you understand how hormones work and make us connect to different kind of addiction. I've done a lot of research on this, and the world of science doesn't understand this. If you go up and bring out the chemical composition of alcohol, you saw with the cocaine, you have interaction with all of it. You see, with all the alcohols, you are missing the nitrogen. And you still have combination of CH ratios. And this is why addiction to cocaine and this is so devastating, because more of are connected. Then the world of science should be able to find a solution for alcoholism, and addiction in a very, very fast way. If you bring the hormones which are related to the sexual behavior, and then you watch what relations they have to alcohol, they have to cocaine, they have to everything else, and to the other factors in the body. Now understanding this, the world of addiction is so fast can be resolved. But still you have to understand the totality. We always see hydrogen in the high level, because once you made the interaction, you should be able to communicate very fast. And you need that line of communication. And then you centralize it to hold it together. That communication can take place. You connect hydrogen to the connection of the carbon with the oxygen, so you bring addiction control. The world of science has not understood these relationships, because they look at in the matter state, not in the plasma state, energy transfer. In a space, you never become addicted to anything. because it's a balanced field in interaction. If you bring other chemical substances we get addicted to, and you look at the same. We have to look at the combination of interaction of the plasmas in a spectrum of the fields of the strength of them, not in numbers. And you see a lot. The whole mystery of the addiction opens up. If you bring addiction to the basic elements of the cigarette, tobacco, or nicotine, then you see how many of us very easily get addicted to it. You look at inside the body of man as a plasma field interaction, not as element. That's why we cannot find solution in a matter state or materials for people who get addicted. But if we move in the plasmatic condition, we move in the plasmatic structure, we find very rapidly solutions. What you have, the balance level of, you can't get addicted to. I can hear you hearing a lot of ding and dongs. We're getting a storm on top of us. Any other question?
Yes, we have a couple more hands up here. Not sure if Gatwa, is your hand up again? Not sure if it's up again. If it is, go ahead.
Yes, it is. Thank you. You know, I said in the beginning I had 3 questions, but unfortunately I muted myself and couldn't go back. So thank you very much, Mr. Kesh, for your enlightening response to my first question. Here are my 2 other questions. First, you have said that the soul of Mitra is with us. My question regarding that is, how do we feel it? How do we realize? I would like to know more about that. And then the last,
what did you say?
the soul of Mitra.
Yes.
You have said that it's now among us.
Yeah.
I would like to know more about that because I haven't felt it. I don't know how to feel it or whether I should. And then the last question is about what you have called hyperactive children. I would like to know in general the behavior of the so-called hyperactive children in the face of all the technology that you have recently released, continuously released, and are they behaving or what's really happening? Thank you very much, Mr. Kesh.
First of all, we promised the presence of Mitra by 21st of April. And we have kept up. And in due course will be known by me. This is the change of the cycle of the maturity of the man, that a man becomes part of the universal community to be able to live and understand both dimensions of the soul and the physicality, that man become mature from now on to be able to travel the depth of the universe. In respect to hyperactivity, I always call the leaders of the world as well hyperactive children. Are we talking about the world leaders or talking about our children? The hyperactivity comes by the division of the rapid division of the plasmatic plasmas within the structure of the what we call some hormones of the body of the man, which they allow the rapid depletion. We see a massive change in the hydrogen level and a very large, what we call numbers in the carbon level, which means it interacts not only with the emotion, but through emotion interacts with the physical dimension. which means connects both to the emotion and the physicality at the same time. And we see children becoming in that way. And when we increase the carbon connection, we see more activities. And one of the reasons we see nowadays massive increase in the hyperactivity or children with a hyperactive behavior is because of that carbon connection. The drinks, the food which children are exposed to now, if you look at it, has E numbers, E400, E420. But ask yourself, what are these E's? These E's are the new structure of carbon interactions which has extracted from mines from carbon. The new coloring, the new additives, the taste, all come from this point. And in that level, it becomes much easier to become much more effective, to become in a way to understand that hyperactivity, what we call, due to the new additives which are carbon-based, it means they create more connections with more levels in the body of the man. So we see hyperactive children, which means they have, through the digestion or breathing or drinking in any shape or form, or being in touch with clothing, even toys, will transfer energies to the body that leads to and concludes in the direction and dimension of the more release of energies from the cell of body of the man into the what we call physical activities or interactions. We see this heavily nowadays with especially drinks. All the E's you see now is in clothing, we see more of. We see more E's in what we call foods, additives, coloring, sugars. They all come from mined carbons, most of it in that level. And a lot of organizations are striving to find more natural colors. Research into using beetles, for example, for children, what they call it, like branded sweets, that they use beetles, a structure body for creating red color. In China, we have algae, which comes from the seaweed, which now they're striving to find much more natural blue colors that they don't go into East, and it costs huge amount of money in research and development. And because we understand more. At the same time, we see impregnation of the clothing, which leads, even by wearing clothing, we see behavioral, what you call, development from people, because in receiving energies through embedded impregnation of the colors, the muscle tissue receives such amount of energy that it makes you active. You want to do things. People don't realize how deep this technology of the additives leading to hyperactivity has gone. And then on the skin levels, we see all sorts of interaction with the lymph systems, and then in all sorts of cancers. So hyperactivity is not just jumping up and down. With the clothing, we have seen for a long time, certain clothing brings certain expectation of emotion. With the coloring they use, it's not just that visually you see it, is actually sits inside the absorption of the fields from the embedded material. This is one of the ways that what we now promoting as a Keshe Foundation clothing with the colors and the paints, especially on the sports wears or what we put out and it'll be used in the enhancement unit. These are natural plasma systems that it cannot create such a condition because as is natural, it interacts in the balance fields, is not there to feed into. in a coming time, as many of you have seen, new technologies will emerge out of the new science of the plasma technology, replacing additives, because with a natural product. And you will see, if the knowledge goes further, that you can produce a lot of things with this. And Keshe Foundation Research and Development is working in that way in additives with clothes. The cotton process we started, which hopefully will come to fruition in the next few months. The material for it will be in the market next March, April, by the time we process it. Will have that kind of effect because it's embedded within the structure of the seed that will naturally balance itself out. It's the same what you do with diabetic and use of the ganses to overcome diabetes. You have done a lot, Dr. Gatwa, in Africa. You've seen how GANS cup number 1 or this CO2 production has changed many of your knowledge seekers to lose their diabetic effect. Because you're replacing it, you're teaching the body to use a natural energy level, which comes from the natural GANS technology, because that's the reason for it. But it doesn't look for additional combination of CH to become the sugar, but it learns that this is the level because it's balanced itself. Many of you, when you buy what we call the sugar cups or sugar ingredients, or you make it yourself, some of the materials have to learn when you deal with what you call the ganses, where, for example, for diabetic, you always don't just drink it. You have to understand diabetic is controlled, and in so many ways is a psychosomatic, and in that condition sits within the kidney of the man. You have to wash your kidneys from outside, create an environment for it with the same gas water. You see a permanent change. You just don't drink the gas water for diabetic, and then when you stop, it goes, because you haven't sorted out the home where what we call insulin foundation of dragging out is not there. You have to regulate the house where it disposes of the chemicals which helps or damages the process inside, and that's your kidney. When you have a blood pressure, when you have a diabetic and you use the plasma technology, as I said, by drinking and seeing, oh, it dropped and it comes back, because you're repairing the car, you haven't changed the brakes. You have to deal with the emotion side. You have to deal with the house which handles the emotion of pressure and diabetic, which is your kidney. That's where you get rid of your materials. And none of you don't follow the procedure. And then, oh, I was good, it helped me some, and it's gone. Now we see the same thing with this virus situation. People say the new stronger strand of it has come, this virus, but you haven't understood. Doesn't matter in what shape or form it appears, look at the combination of the weaker strength and connection to the amino acid of it. Understand the technology. Just don't go for willy-nilly, oh, this time it happened, last time it didn't. Because you have to understand, you need to fix everything. This is why when we tell you with the new vision enhancement, don't expect that tomorrow you'll see. It has to be produced in a specific way. We have to be seeing how you respond to it, that we can elevate and take it further. And in so many ways, do we enhance the soul of the man through the same connections? The knowledge has to be comprehended in a full spectrum of it, not just as it goes. Any other?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kesh.
We've got Marinus next in line here.
Do we have any other questions anywhere else on the platform you sit?
I can look in the YouTube here. Andrew had a question about, let's go here. It's a long conversation. Okay. Andrew asks, good morning, Rick. Can you bring up cannabis and ask why it's so good as a medicine? It cures cancer and more. How come it's so powerful? He wants to know in.
Can we put a pass on this one?
That's what I advised him. Yes. Okay. Let's see. We have Viviana with the hand up, and I think we have a couple of other questions here in the Q&A. Fernando, I'm not sure if we can deal with this question, but Fernando asked in the Q&A, what was the gland that Christ touched to receive what he could not from the human being?
What does that mean?
I thought you might know, because I don't know what gland that Christ touched to receive what he could not from the human being.
Love of God. Don't forget he was the son, he knew exactly what to touch. Any other? Mahsud had a question.
Pardon me?
Mahmoud had a question or he had a hand up.
Yes, okay, yeah. Go ahead, Marinus. Marinus, can you open your microphone? Okay, I think she must be having trouble with the microphone, or maybe it's some general problem here. Ike had trouble too. Ike, can you open your mic, or did you have a question still?
No, sorry about that.
Okay. Okay, well, we have Jefferson. Maybe he can open his mic. Go ahead, Jefferson.
Hello, Rick. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Kesh. It was an honor to talk to you. Jefferson from São José dos Campos. Yesterday at Reactor Group, we were talking so many issues, many wonderful things. First of all, thank you very much for all this knowledge that you're bringing to us every time more. And I was wondering yesterday about the planets in the solar system and the interaction, because we have the planets since the ancient times, how these planets and the angle and the position that they have with each other and with our planet, they interact in magnetic fields. and how it touches the behavior, or how the ancients used the houses and the position of these planets to try to help in the farm and the agricultural system. And the intention with this is because we have a lot of astronomers or astrologers whose interact with these fields and with this intention of to understand and to predict things. And this is where I would like to go to bring the Keshe Foundation technology, the interaction of one couple, one life in this public, how to bring them to understand how this technology could, the plasma technology could interact with the astronomy or astrology in an easier way, so we can bring all this public to the technology. It's a way that I'm trying to find a way to bring the knowledge to this people who studies the planet's position and the angles, interaction. So I think it's not a question, but how we can explain in an easier way for them how the plasma technology through the fields and position of the planets can interact with our society and even plants and even animals. Always, thank you, Mr. Keshe. I don't know if I made myself clear. Thank you very much.
If you look at the body of the man, has an organ called kidney, one is liver, one is intestine. The structure of the planetary system in a solar system are the same. Each one is responsible for certain function within the structure of the solar system. It's the same for every star in a galaxy and every universe with its galaxies. So in that position, when you have a problem with your kidney, you become diabetic and reflects on the rest of the body. So is the position of the planetary system in a solar system. They create certain field interactions, and as we are plasmatic ourselves, in one way or another, they touch us. They create a collective mood or behavior in all of us. When we go into the winter season in Northern Hemisphere, in the Scandinavian countries, because of the lack of certain fields, we create depression in the large number of the members of the society. It's a big problem today. On a few days ago, for the first time in Iran, 82 or 84 people committed suicide in one city in one day. Never been known. Average death toll by suicide in the country is about 15. How collectively so many people decided to commit suicide, nothing to do with each other. And is this the progress of the second cycle of what we see with the virus, which has hit Iran heavily? Or is it what we said, creation of different fields in plasma, which has come in the first cycle? Are we going to see a continuation of rise in suicide? So as we said, this virus affects a lot of other things, including emotion. So in that respect, we start looking to understand that yes, Jupiter and Saturn in the background are collector of gases. you know, it's a gas tank. It's, let's say, the end part, as we have in the body of the man, they collect the gases. But where those gases are released to? Then you have systems in the front which absorb most of the heat that certain lengths and strengths are absorbed with. So the body of the man, there is no difference in it with the body of the solar system. Each unit, each satellite, each moon, each planet has a functionality, or because of its creation, has created a function in the solar system, the same as us. There is no difference, but we have to understand what's the purpose of it. It's not just there sunning around. Up to now, we accept it because we didn't have a knowledge. We just looked at the physicality of something has got 11 moons and something got 1 moon and is distant. But what does this serve? We know they interact because the simplest one is the moon. The moon affects us, our mood, and even our oceans, what we call height of the water in the cup of the earth, we call it, because how does it move? How do we have a high tide and a low tide? So we do affect. It has affected us, but up to now we were not wise to it. Some scientists over time, they say, oh, when Jupiter is here, does this to man, we see more this, more that. They're correct. But they, in a deeper way, some scientists in the past have touched it. Da Vinci tried to understand this in a very, very devious way through the organs which he was buying from those people who were burying them. But he couldn't connect it. When you look at some of the work of Da Vinci in depth, you understand Da Vinci was looking for the answer. And in some of his paintings, he has cleverly hidden the knowledge he has gained of the creation and the creator, of the balance of the energies within the satellites, within the wing of the angels, which he draws sometimes. That's the balance of the field. And in so many ways, we have to understand part of this knowledge. Because when you cover number of fields, you see similarities, you can connect it to. And yes, stars in our galaxy even have effect on our behavior as a collective. Even our own star has an effect on our behavior as a collective humans, which faced it when it showed massive release of energies or it pulled energy. We are connected to it. It's so minute that we just go flip. And stars and their planetary system have a direct effect on even the DNA structure and behavior of their citizens, or as we call their creation. When you next time look at the position of Mars, in that position, or Jupiter or Saturn or Moon, look at the collective structure of the fields and what these fields mean, because now we can gradually measure them. And then if the same as what we saw with the cocaine and with the alcohol, if that field strength fits in the part of our, what we call harmonic amino acid balance of the plasma, nuclear plasma understanding, then like cocaine will make us dizzy, like the other one makes us drunk, or maybe it makes us at the point of wisdom. Because not all the hormones we know are the way you see it. In a certain position of the brain of the man, hormones of the wisdom, what we call wisdom, is created. Depends what energy we put into it. So we see this, and now we have to understand more, and you're not wrong, and in a way, it's nice to see that the knowledge is opening up new insight, that we are looking for the next step to answer and find solutions. We will be touched as we travel the depths of the universe by magnetic fields of the stars and galaxies as we pass. The same as our own moons and planetary system in our solar system. The same as us have a different emotion in the position of the winter and summer, in different position of this planet. Any other?
Raphael, is your hand up or was that left over from before? I'm wondering. Allow you to speak there and see if we can sort that out. Perhaps you do have a question. We do have someone
Can
new here.
you repeat?
Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Kesh.
I said, can you repeat the question?
We don't have a question there yet. We do have a new person here, Ed, with a hand up. Let's hear from them. Go ahead, Ed.
Hello.
Yes, could you say who you are and where you're from as well? Thanks.
Oh, my name's Ed Matthews from New Zealand. Oh, how's it going anyway? I just wanted to ask a few things.
Where are you
there?
from? Sorry?
New Zealand?
Israel.
New Zealand. Oh, is my mic? Yeah, because I haven't got a proper mic. It's just the phone itself.
We hear you pretty good. He's from New Zealand, Mr. Kesh.
Thank you
Did
very
you
much.
hear?
Sorry, we couldn't understand it.
Like a while ago, probably a couple of years back, you said for people to try and put their hands together and make the light between them.
What?
Like if a person can put their hands together and create light between them.
Creating light between the hands, Mr. Kesh.
Yes,
Yes, that.
yes.
Is this basically what the thalamus does? Because there's two of them, eh? One for the left and one for the right hemisphere.
You can control the field release. That one is slightly stronger, or you can control the field release in a part of the neurosystem that you can create the interaction of the fields that lead to the creation of the light, or what we call the plasma of the light.
So is that like amping the fields up through your emotions and stuff?
But you need concentration of the fields to be brought in, to be in the field environment of the whole, what I call cup of hand. You can hold it, you can manipulate it, and even with the movement of the fingers, you can bring the compression of the field to the balance that you can create.
Oh, yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask is, like, in one of your teachings, you talked about the 4 cups in a square, and then the person standing in the center. Do you remember that? Oh. Are you still there? Oh.
Yes, we are here.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm referring to with the 4 cups in a square, and then the person stands in the center?
Do you have a
question
about that?
Oh, I think there might be like a connection issue or something.
No, it's us not understanding New Zealand accent.
He's talking about the standing in front of the 4 cups, Mr. Cash.
Yeah.
I'll translate for you.
Yeah, because like well, I gather that when you look at like all these ancient like the Buddhist temples, but towers in a square, and then they've got like the higher tower that sits in the center.
So,
I might have to, yeah. Well, I don't know. There's no connection. I can't hear anything properly. Well,
not sure what your question is, Ed, or what is the comparison you're trying to make there? Something about the Buddhist temple.
yeah, and it's sort of got the same setup as you said, with putting the 4 cups in a square, and then standing in the center. You know, the 5 cups, like the universal 5 cups.
And that's like being in a Buddhist temple?
Yeah, well, the Buddhist temple it's the exact same setup with the 4 towers on each corner of the square, and then there's one that sits in the center that reflects the field spectrum. Because when you look at these temples, you see all these birds, like thousands of them, just spiraling around like the tops of them.
Well, Mr. Kesh, is there anything you'd like to say about that, or is it?
I don't understand the question.
He's trying to make some comparison between the way Buddhist temples are made and the 4 cups, standing in front of the 4 cups. But I think it's pretty much a stretch to try to compare both of them directly that way.
Yeah, no, because the 4 cups create the 4 cups create the inertia, and the one that stands in the center that absorbs the fields, like opens up the center.
Oh, now I understand what he's trying to tell us.
Okay.
Yeah, because around the Buddhist temples, you've got the depiction of the swastika with the 4 dots on the corners.
You can find understanding of the evolution of the knowledge of the plasma in different times by different, what I call, souls who have shared as they understood with humanity, and sometimes been put in a figure of what you call construction and a field transfer. And we see this.
Well, yeah, that sort of brings me to my final question is, so could you just have like the higher fields of Ganses to create the inertia? That way it incorporates everything. You know what I mean? Instead of like just having like a whole bunch of different free Ganses, for example, you could just like have the deuterium or whatever, and then, you know, the inertia could be the absorption fields of those, like whatever strength level the body needs or whatever.
Depends what you understand from the interaction of the fields and how you want to interpret it. And I always say, I was yesterday in the lab and I was told, oh, we made a mistake, something there. I said, we never make mistakes. In this technology, this knowledge of creation, no one makes mistake. It's just that we do different things, and from it, we gather different knowledge. And what we gather and we use it, that's the beauty of what we learn from the process. And if you see it that way and you can interpret it, maybe open our eyes into a new way to look at things, which we didn't before. And you're not wrong. And opens us, possibly the scientists understood at that time what it means and what it leads to. And in the name of what I call whatever religion or path of belief, they built something to manifest or visualize what it was said and taught about.
Oh yeah, well, that's all I wanted to know. I mean, I wouldn't want to go mess things up, you know.
In this knowledge, we're all knowledge seekers, and the intellect of all of us becomes a collective intellect. And how we use it and how we can use it for our better understanding or better life. Possibly is what you think somebody taught, maybe in that way, maybe was the reason the buildings were built.
Oh yeah, well, that's all I wanted to know for now. Thanks.
Any other question? Or shall we call it a day?
Well, we do need to wrap it up quite soon here so that we can keep under the magic 4-hour mark so that the transcribers will be happier. There's several more questions in the Q&A, but we've got all the hands up answered, and other questions in the YouTube seem to be handled as well.
And I have a question for you. I have personally, as I was older.
Is there questions in the background there? I can hear.
Pardon? What did you say, Ray?
I hear something in the background there, but is there
any? Dean is trying to ask a question.
Okay. We can't hear it at this end.
We can't hear you, Dean. Wait 1 second. I'm going to move near him because he is sitting in the background in the controlling panel. Let's see what he has to ask. I hear it as you do.
So, Mr. Kesh, I have a question. I've been listening to the wonderful teachings today, and my question would be about the vision enhancement product. I have my vision is gradually deteriorated over the years, and I'm now in a position where I have to wear glasses to look at screens and to read. Will the vision enhancement product enhance physical vision?
Depends on what you expect of it and what you want to see. In a way, we are not giving you a system to see better and you buy new glasses that you say is replaced. It is our what we call dual purpose, and it depends on what you expect to you'll in a way you will reach the point that you might not expect it from the process and the technology. It's not that I'll see better, I feel better. As I said, this is a two-part piece which will come into operation. This is the first part of it. And the second part will be released in due course. That it'll work in very much in interaction with the second part, with what we call the elevation of the what we call hormones of the soul of the man. And in that level is creating a new condition for man's emotion and possible elevation of the understanding of the knowledge and technologies and life in a totally different way. These are not there to create physical changes. If they do, it means you're satisfied by the soul, or the strength of the level of the soul, level of your vision that has led to your physical, what we call impairment, as you call it. But these are not for these kind of things. This, we walk through the elevation of the soul that we see the totality, This is part of the new education, new cycle. This is part of what we see as totality. And in so many ways, we extend the knowledge in understanding of what is the physical life and what will bring us the elevation of the more fields to be available to the physical dimension and how your body might use it in improving the cycle of life.
Okay, do we have any other announcements or special things to bring up?
Not really. Thank you very much for being with us. I hope we could share more knowledge. We could share the understanding of the more of the knowledge of the creation. And today's teaching opened up another dimension in vision of the man, in what we see, in what we expect, in what we accumulate to be part of our knowledge. Knowledge seekers, as I said, we always seek to achieve the best. And in that process, we do our best to understand not only the process of the physical life, but understanding the higher level which we are created out of. We have looked at what is in other dimensions. Now we are looking up to understand where we came from. And in that process, we try to understand where we are going to. What is the purpose of us as created to be here, to serve, or to be part? Thank you very much for today. And thank you very much, Rick, and the whole of the Keshe Foundation in the background for the work and support.
Very good. Thank you once again, Mr. Keshe, for another Knowledge Seekers Workshop, the 377th one, for Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. We do have the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace coming up Tuesday next week. And otherwise, I think that's all the public teaching. There will be some other teachings, maybe from the Brazilian or other language teachings as well. You'll have to check with your local agencies on that. Okay, thanks, Mr. Keshe, and thank you everybody for being here today.